Hey there, welcome back to Reddit Cheating Wife, the best cheating stories on YouTube. Don't forget to like and subscribe to the channel for more cheating stories like these. My wife, female 31, cheated on me, male 34, with her coworker. In fact, I'm typing this in my car, which also happens to have a bottle of whiskey in the trunk of the vehicle. In college, we met and became fast friends. After many years, I proposed to her and she accepted. Later, we had 2 children, a boy who was 8 years old at the time and a girl who was 12 years old. My mother taught me that no one is perfect, and I fell in love with the lady who would become my wife, whom we will name Tori, immediately. I saw that she was acting in a chilly and distant manner and that she was always concealing her phone. A message from a female appears on her phone 3 weeks after she last received one. I instantly dialed her phone and informed her of what I had seen. Although the girl does not sound feminine, based on what I've seen in the mails, it seems that it was not a female after all. And it turns out that it was one of her coworkers whom I'd met previously and who was married with children at the time of the event, who was responsible for the incident. Even if everything in my thinking is keeping me from going to his house and destroying every bone in his body, I had planned on writing to his wife in that situation instead. It was my fantasy that she would approach my wife and beat the living daylights out of her as a result of our encounter. Nevertheless, as time went on and my mind became bored of thinking about it, I ceased living in a fantasy world. Remember that I never touched or did anything to my wife. Yet her betraying me seems like a literal slap in the face, and it fills me with wrath every time I think about what happened to her. I just want to know what went wrong and what I need to do to correct the situation going forward. Aside from that, I don't want my children to grow up in a dysfunctional environment. Update. Wow. After I finished writing this, I went to my parents' home and told them everything that had happened. They were depressed, enraged, and grieved, just as I had been and continued to be at the time. I told them to keep it between themselves until I had collected all of my possessions. They did as I requested. If my STB ex-wife, Tori, not her true name, and I are unable to reconcile, I will request that she sign a postnuptial agreement, as several have advised. However, I cannot promise that I will not divorce if we do not reach an agreement. I intend to speak to my children and give them a short story since they are not of an age to comprehend it, with the exception of my daughter, who may be of an understanding age, but that will be at a later date. For the time being, I'm preoccupied with a few other matters. When it comes to the messages, Tori's messages from this supposedly girl are actually coming from a man who we will refer to as DB from her workplace. As I discovered when I snooped through her messages a few days before when she was not near her phone and discovered flirtatious messages, sexting, lists of hotels, and the most stomach-turning of all, our house, among other things. DB even had the audacity to say in text that I'm a horrible spouse that mistreats their wife, which I thought to be really insulting. Remember that this gentleman is married with children, and as of right now, his wife is oblivious of what is going on since I have not informed her of the situation. My wife is absolutely oblivious of what is going on, and I am still taking action, but for the time being, that is the current state of affairs in our household. Story number 2. My 43-year-old male ex-wife, 42-year-old female ex-wife wants to return to me and my children 3 years after she left me and the children. My wife had been intending to cheat on me with another guy for 3 years at the time. I saw some of the signals and caught them sexting, and she expressed disappointment that our life was not what she desired. We ended up divorcing and she ended up leaving for another guy. Our 3 children, now 15M twins and 12F, felt abandoned at the time. I was given exclusive custody of the children and the home, while she made no attempt to visit the children, despite the fact that they did not want to see her and were fairly vocal about it. Since then, the children seem to be doing better, but I get the impression that they mourn their mother, particularly my younger twin brother. It has been many years since I last saw my ex-wife, and I have moved on in the sense that I have slept with other women since then, but I am not dating at this time and do not want to do so until the kids are all out of high school, if not longer. Recently, I discovered that the guy my wife ran away with is now a bankrupt alcoholic abuser. She has since left him and returned to her parents' home. While the kids were with my brother at his cottage, This weekend, she came over to my house and chatted with me about her life. Essentially, she is begging with me to take her back, explaining how she made a mistake and has lost her savings, the money from the divorce, and her children. She would want to contribute to our reunification and joint parenting of our children. My attention was drawn to her, but I didn't say anything, and she returned to her home with her folks. The entire scenario is making my mind spin. On the one hand, I really want her back, and on the other, I believe that with time, the children will come to enjoy having their mother back. Although the other women I've been with and have been wonderful, there is always a sense that something is missing. In addition, I'm curious whether she just came back because that guy grew into the person he is now. Even if we get back together, I don't intend to marry her, at least not right away, and if we did, there would almost certainly be a prenuptial agreement in place. I'd rather for her to remain with her parents and gradually reintegrate herself into my life and the lives of my children. There's also the issue of not knowing whether or not I can even accept her. A part of me sees her as second-hand merchandise. I know that's bad. Couples counseling and family therapy are likely to be required. Thinking about the future is tough at the moment since there are so many factors to consider. For example, what type of harm would be done to the children or myself if she left again? I'm simply coming on here to get some insight from a different standpoint. Story 3. Baby Daddy cheated with Coworker. My boyfriend, Baby Daddy, cheated on me with one of his coworkers, no longer works there, for about a year. I found out on Valentine's Day of last year, 2021. I had a feeling something was wrong, so I would be behind his back while he put in his passcode. He never would let me look through his phone because he said I was too crazy and looked through too much of his personal stuff. I got into his phone and found texts between him and his coworker. They spoke Spanish to each other, so I didn't understand any of it besides he said I love you to her, and she would send him selfies. No nudes, more like gym selfies, makeup selfies. When I confronted him, he said he didn't mean any of it, and that it was just games and he was bored, and that he never met up with her after their work closed down for COVID, but sometimes spent more time with me and our son, never is on his phone as much, lets me look through his phone when I ask, but the feeling still lingers. When I mention her or bring up questions, he gets upset and says we can't get better if I can't move past it. When I tell him I'm scared of getting hurt again, he says he will never do that again and will never put our relationship, family at jeopardy again. But it's hard for me to fully trust him again because I don't want to be disappointed again. Since he's been cooperative and has changed since then, does he deserve at least me trying to trust him again?